Back in Kulikov, a loud train whistle tore Daria out of her reverie as it pierced the oppressive silence of what had once been a peaceful scene along the nearby pond. Out for a rare moment on her own, she immediately started running and passed the church, nearing her neighbor Kuznetsov's house. She saw his wife step onto the dirt road, curving her hand above her eyes, focusing hard into the distance. There hadn't been a train for so long that Daria had feared they weren't running anymore. It was the late summer of 1919, and Ivan had been gone for days. And how would he get back if there were no more trains from Moscow? It could take him months to return. And, from what she had been hearing and seeing, they didn't have months. Daria's mind churned. She was both hopeful and terrified. What if the train didn't stop? What if her Ivan wasn't on it? What if it was just more Red troops heading south? Or worse, troops that would get off here to maraud and pillage. She needed to still her mind, to keep from torturing herself into paralysis. She could hear the wheels slowing, but that didn't mean anything. Would the train slow further? Or was it just God's way of sinking her deeper into the quagmire of unsolvable problems? She stopped then and prayed. There was nothing left to do but pray to a God she was no longer certain existed. The train stopped. Steam poured out of the locomotive. She heard voices. She heard a door open. And then Ivan was speeding toward her from the train station. Wait, someone else was running behind him. It was Kuznetsov. They must have met up in Moscow. Had they found buyers for the grain? Had Ivan raised enough funds to see them through the next few months? 2 times over the last year, she and Ivan had already packed their belongings and fled, only to return as the tide of battle turned to favor their own white fighters. For a while now, it had appeared as if their Cossack army was defeating the Reds. That's why Ivan had risked one more trip to the capital. In the weeks since he had left, however, the war had unexpectedly arrived almost at their doorstep, and victory no longer seemed like a possibility. People were fleeing in their telyagas. The 4-wheel wooden carts of a size that varied with its owner's holdings had become a mainstay of their lives. They threw their children and possessions into them, put horses between the long bars, aimed their whips at the horses' backs, and headed off into the unknown. Groups of their own soldiers had passed through town, also heading south, warning of the advancing Red Army. In their desperation, they stole food, and, she had heard, did worse to some women. Daria herself had buried their family silver behind the house and barricaded the doors to protect herself and her family, and so far this had worked. Just this morning she had packed some clothes and the last of the cellared food and put much of it into their own large telyaga. If the Reds were indeed taking over, she knew her husband would be an immediate target, for he was a man of property. Ivan had tried hard to avoid choosing between revolutionaries and conservatives. He had finished his military service as a medic. Carrying bodies, he saw the pain up close and had hoped never to be involved in a battle again. The country needed his skills to raise crops and bring food to the cities.